Podcast City Network.
This is Final Score, your number one podcast for sports news. Here are your hosts, Chris and Craig.
Hey guys, and welcome to another exciting episode of Final Score, episode 88, and Happy New Year. It's our first show of 2021, and I tell you what, I'm happy to be out of 2020 because that was another shit show. But I can't do any of this without my awesome co-host, the one, the only, Craig. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing great. I don't know about you. My 2020 was pretty good. Much unlike what other popular opinions. Mine was pretty good, except last couple of months. But hey, 2021, great new horizons. We got a lot of awesome stuff coming your way for Final Score fans. We're super stoked, including one of the interviews that we've been trying to put together for a long time. We're excited to have tonight, but it's been great so far.
Oh yeah, a lot of exciting stuff. Before we get to all that, you got to make sure that you follow Final Score on social media at PCN Final Score on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, and Instagram. Go on there, give us a like, give us a follow, give us a subscribe, invite your friends, share with your friends. You know the whole entire rundown. Got to help Final Score boost those numbers because, as you see, we have our goals up top. The Facebook followers and Twitter followers, we've been making moves. So help us keep on moving it at PCN Final Score. So, but wait, before we can jump into, we have one other thing that we're trying to find, aren't we, Craig?
Absolutely. We're the team of Podcast City Network. We're looking for writing and contributors to help with Final Score. We're looking for a sports writing role that for those that want to gain some resume experience, they want to build their brand as a journalist, love sports, and want to grow in the business. If you want to learn more or think that you'd be a good fit for the team, message Final Score on Facebook or email pcnfinalscore@gmail.com.
That's right. Got to get wild with it. But we do have a great guest today. Let's welcome to the show none other than S Money of Double Dime. How you doing today, bud?
Good. What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me.
Not doing too bad, man. Thank you so much for joining us. I know you had a crazy night last night going down to Miami for that Texas A&M North Carolina game.
Yeah, it was a good game, man. Like I told you, if North Carolina had those, their NFL prospects there with all their offense, they win that game last night.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's so crazy because you're seeing that in a lot of bowl games where a lot of guys are either just opting out of the bowl to get ready for the NFL or just being sat by their team, whatever the case may be. But, hey, 2020 COVID, man, so that's what we got.
Yeah, but a lot of it, they say they want to expand the playoffs so they can get rid of that because then these guys are playing for a championship. You make it 8 teams wide, and, these guys are going to play. They're playing for something then.
Absolutely. But you yourself, sir, have a lot of things going on, including Double Dime. I don't know if a lot of people have actually seen it yet. We know we've been throwing it out there to our listeners, but what can you tell our listeners about Double Dime?
Well, we actually took a little hiatus about 1 month there. The last month we haven't been on. I think we're in episode 12 or 13 now. Changing it up a little bit, bringing Carlitos there to the show. Matt Mann is going to be there with us, just not full-time. He's got a lot of things going on where he can't make it full-time. So we should be back in action, if not this Saturday coming up, the Saturday before that, the breakdown. Now we're in college season, so we'll break down some of those college basketball games for you, help give them some tips, and hope to get people to get rid of the gambling and start investing. See, that's the big thing is everybody out there is gambling. I mean, these guys selling picks and the whole industry is towards gambling. Nevada won a record $61.3 million last month, right? Everybody is losing, right? That's the thing. They win or they put some money over there and they go on a little hot streak and then they feel good. And then they lose that money, a little, some of their own, but they remember they had won, right? So they try to go back out there and they try to redo the same thing and try to win. And sometimes they get hot and up and down. until they lose their money. Man, I lived this life. You know what I mean? So I can sit and teach forever from 20 to 30 or 20 to late 20s, man, I was gambling and 5,000-10,000 a game, and I didn't even have that kind of money back then. You know, so I've been down all those roads. So just trying to give somebody some insight. So I'm not really opening my thing up to, you know, hey, I want a guy. If you don't gamble, I don't want you, right? You know, it's like I want to take a guy that's hasn't been drinking and then put him back on, you know, have him start drinking beer and he likes it. Now he's an alcoholic. Same thing works with gambling. You start doing it, and then you're betting Chris, and over there, and the next thing you know, you're taking food. You think you can do it good, and you're losing. Your kids aren't eating, and then who's got to suffer? Me, you know. And I live by God, so I'm not going to sit and put anybody that's not doing it. But I want to be there to help all the people that are losing. The $61 million that's you know, lost last month, record high, because people don't have jobs, right? So now they're just gambling their way to try to figure out if they can make it somewhere. So. But yeah, I mean, that's a little rundown about what I'm doing over there. And, you know, I plan to get things back going, breaking down some games. And, you know, the DMs are open. The website's about back up. It was hacked. So it's about back up where people can sign up there. But for right now, DM Twitter is the best way to reach us. Any of the social media DMs will get, but we're real active on Twitter.
Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. And you mentioned about getting into some games. We definitely want to talk a few games with you today because we got the NFL slate week 17 that's going down today, all 1 o'clock and 4:25 games, except for our single Sunday night game. But we want to cover three that have real big playoff implications because we do have some teams that are making that last final push here in the last week of the season. And I want to kick it off with the 8-7 Arizona Cardinals traveling on over to LA to take on the 9-6 Rams. The current line I saw last, I think, was Arizona favored by 3. Correct me if I'm wrong. What's your take on this game?
It's down to 2.5. But it's interesting, right? Because the Rams, no golf, right? They're starting to.
John Wolford.
Who they got going?
John Wolford.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's never even played in the NFL, right?
Nope. First start.
He's an Alliance of American Football product.
Yep.
Right. So I just give you the little sports insight, and it doesn't always go this way. It goes this way more so than not. So if you put it in some kind of strategic system, you'll win by doing it over and over and over again. But guys, you know, we look at the game, and if I'm looking at it from a sports viewer and not somebody that does what I do, Arizona, right? I mean, they're going in there. They got no quarterback. They're trying to get in the playoffs. It's do or die for them too. But 2.5, that's too cheap, right? That's too cheap. That tells me that the Rams are going to win this game.
Ooh,
Rams are going to win this game. You got somebody not going in. You're only putting 2.5. You're trying to get everybody 2.5, 3, whatever. You're trying to get everybody to bet Arizona. That's what you're doing here. Like, who's not taking the Arizona bet today, right? They sound great. That's a shoo-in. So I think they lose today. Just based on doing this over and over and watching it, that outcome happens all the time.
Oh, man.
So that's my take on the game. If I was looking at it from just a sports fan, Arizona should go in there and take care of business. But from the side that I look at it, it's the Rams game to lose here.
Oh, man, that's going to be
crazy. They know
crazy.
what they're doing.
And that, and you add in the fact that the Cardinals are going to be without Christian Kirk because he has COVID-19, and Larry Fitz just moments ago was declared out after already being doubtful for this game because of a groin injury. So honestly, that would lend right into LA's hands with this. So I mean, we'll see what happens,
not 100%.
right?
Murray's not 100%. He wasn't. You know, he said there was no way he wasn't playing. We don't know how much pain he's got going on.
Right. Definitely a very valid point. But another game I want to take a look at today, too, is one that has some implications in the NFC East, and that's the Dallas Cowboys at 6-9, traveling on up to MetLife to take on the New York Giants at 5-10. Current line last I saw also was 3 for Dallas. This game is going to be interesting just because of the fact that both of these are kind of bottom feeders, really, but still somehow have a shot at the NFC East title. Who do you think ends up taking this?
You know, before we get into that, the only one that doesn't have a chance in the NFC East title is the Philadelphia Eagles.
How did I know this is going to come up?
Like, everybody's got a chance but them.
You know what?
That's sad.
Super Bowl 52
That's
chance.
sad.
Don't even want to hear it.
Yeah, I don't listen. I'm a Notre Dame fan, but I don't know which is worse. Eagles or Notre Dame. You got the worst of both worlds there now.
I mean, hey, at least we got one Super Bowl title, right?
Yeah, I hear you. That nice trickery play with Nick Foles.
Hey, that was some magic right there. Oh my goodness.
So that line is now dropped to Dallas -1.
Oh, wow. That's a significant move.
This is an interesting game, and usually that means there's some big money that's coming in on the Giants there. That's usually what steams it down to 1 and not 2.5, 3, and sticks around there. But from an investing standpoint, I like the Giants, and I think the Giants are the better team. The Cowboys are just, them and the Eagles are just bad, man. And I think the Eagles could be a little better. Like the Cowboys just without what they got going on, their defense isn't good, right? Andy Dalton, subpar.
Zeke hasn't even
they
been
got all
good.
the talent in the world. They just never know how to use it. That's the Cowboys for you the last 10 years. So another big game, another spot, and they fail today.
Wow.
I'll take the Giants. I'll take the Giants today.
Man. No love for the Cowboys, but you know what? I kind of hope the Cowboys lose because I think I hate the Cowboys more than I do the Giants. So, maybe it balances out somehow. But in our third game, and this one has a lot of different kinds of implications versus things going on with division titles. With this is a team trying to get into the playoffs and a team trying to get a number 1 seed. So definitely different ends of the spectrum here. But we have the 12-3 Green Bay Packers going on over to Soldier Field to take on the 8-7 Chicago Bears. Last I saw, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, it was Green Bay favored by 4. Aaron Rodgers is playing. Packers are going in trying to win this game. They're not going to rest starters. They're not going to try and just coach their way into playoffs. They're coming to win. Does Chicago have a chance in this?
Well, I'm a little biased. This one's hard for me. Like big Rodgers fan, obviously. My hometown, so I always cheer for Wisconsin teams and Florida teams. But yeah, the Bears do have a shot. What's the weather looking like over there today?
I don't even know. I know it's supposed to be extremely, extremely cold because you're talking about the frozen tundra in January. So I know it's going to be real cold.
It's a good game, man. This isn't one I'll be touching. Like a gun to my head, I'm definitely taking the Packers. They're a better team. But man, this is going to be a chippy game. It's a rivalry game. It's going to be, they're going to be going, like you said, everybody, Green Bay wants everybody to have to come through them because that's almost like a guaranteed Super Bowl with this weather.
Oh, yeah.
So Chicago wants to get in, so it's going to be interesting. That line, you're about right. I think it's 4.5. I think it opened up at 5.5. Sometimes a point swing, they move it to get people to bet a certain way to mess with your mind. So it's not nothing significant. As everybody's betting the Packers. I mean, that's the obvious choice, right? We're a better team. So the obvious choice is to take them. Since I'm selecting them today, I'm going there. Like, I'm going to take the Packers, lay those points. Or you do something. I don't know what that money line's sitting at. Might be, if it's under 200, you can get like a 180. You just take them to win. They win by a field goal. You don't lose laying 4 points.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, in this type of a game with the Packers and the Bears, it doesn't matter what records they are, what the spread is. It's always, like you said, it's going to be one of those types of games. I would even look at a money line game for the Cowboys and Giants if we're that confident in the Giants, because especially these two games that we had picked here, those rivalry games, week 17, you never know where it's really going to happen. So it's going to be, I just checked the weather. It's 32 degrees and snowing in Chicago right now.
Oh, man, that's going to be, what's the total? Anybody got the total on that game? Is it in the 30s or is it still 40s for the total points on that game?
Over-unders at 50.5 the last time Chris looked last night.
Actually, I'm looking at an updated. It's
huh?
actually dropped to 48.5 now. So just check.
Okay, so 48.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
Makes sense. Seems like, I mean, I don't know. You can slip the wrong way on the snow and a lot of points start happening.
That's true. That's true. So it definitely is going to be interesting to see how it works out. And, I know Green Bay really wants that number 1 seed because, like you said, if you have to go through the frozen tundra, more than likely it's a Green Bay Super Bowl trip. So we'll definitely see how it works out. But we also have some great things happening with Double Dime because you did say Double Dime is going to be coming back. Do we have a date that we can expect that we can tell the fans?
Yeah, I want to tell them to follow me. It's Fixed Edge Investing, or mostly just Fixed Edge on Twitter and all the social media platforms. But we're really live there, kind of copy and paste with Instagram right now until the website's up and going. I would say the website end of January. Everything should be live there, maybe a little sooner. And then as far as the show, to check next Saturday, if all the software and everything's in place, we'll kick it off Saturday. If not, the following Saturday for sure. So we can just kind of hit college basketball, break down games, take a few questions, and then we'll have one day during the week we'll come to you. But right now, with football finishing up, we're gonna hit certain times, so it might come before playoff games or whatever. Maybe the national championship on the Monday. So that might be a good time to. Is that not next Monday? Not this one coming up, but the following Monday, right?
Right. Be on the 11th.
The 11th, yeah.
So maybe let me just check with the time, but maybe we just open up there. That gives enough time to get everything in place, and then that's a good opening. There should be a lot of people on social media that day before it kicks off. People want the big winner on the national championship game. It's pretty big. It's not as big as the Super Bowl bet wise, but people be betting on it. I think that's a 7, right? Is that a 7 still? 7.5?
7 or 7.5 for Alabama so far, as far as I know.
Yeah, that's already moving because I saw it yesterday at 8, and now it's going down to 7.5. You see a lot of movement like that in these types of games too, don't you? Don't you, Steve?
Yeah, a lot of movements, and that's kind of what I follow, man. You got to take your heart out of it. You got to take the, we all know, you look at players and you can know that, LeBron is better than Muggsy Bogues, right? But when they're going head to head, and the line has indicating one way or another, it's not that cut and dry. Because if it was, they wouldn't be in business, right? Everybody would just win. They would just pick the obvious choice.
Yep.
Well, we want to go ahead and jump over to the chat real quick. George DeMoya says, can I play some bets with you, S Money? Betting everything against the Eagles. Way to go, George. Way to go. My goodness.
Well, one of the great things I want to just kind of tune the listeners in on too. Those of you that are jumping in right now, appreciate everybody jumping in the comments. But the one great thing that you guys do is you guys post on Instagram and Twitter the wins, and you post losses. So you're very transparent with that, which is not something that you see with people that are supposed to be, gambling accounts or, give you the tips and tricks. You guys show wins and losses.
Well, I appreciate that. That's like I said, that just comes my character is from the man above. So I live like you're going to read what you're going to read. I'm not going to BS you. I get people to come in my, actually, matter of fact, I had a guy yesterday DM me and he says, hey, I seen your message about tired of paying for crappy picks or whatever, and he was ready to pay me right then and there. He's like, well, what's your price? I said, listen, man, don't worry about the price. We got memberships and that, but let's get you making money and seeing results, and then you worry about that. Anybody that sells picks sells them because they can't win them themselves, right? If you can make money yourself, you really don't care how many followers you have or whatever, because eventually you have a big enough bankroll. I'm sorry to be honest, and I don't mean to be rude, but I really don't need. I'm going out there helping people learn and not make the mistakes I went through to get to where I'm at today. Because if not, and most people, they're not showing you their wins and losses. They're showing you all their wins or their blue whale bets, go undefeated. They haven't lost since whatever. All their max plays are undefeated, and it's like, show them everything. This week we didn't win. This week we did. I mean, I went on that 15 straight weeks of winning. That's incredible.
Yeah.
And then I lost 2 in a row, and then I won the last 2, and that's what it's about. And I think in anything, not just what I do, transparency is key, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
who wants
100%.
to deal with someone that's real? And that's where you're at with me. You'll be there, and when we lose 5 in a row. You'll see me the next day. You'll be able to reach me. I'm not hiding from nobody, so, but that's what a lot of these guys do. And so they hustle and they make a business out of it and they sell plays, and most of them are scam artists. There's very few people that do what I do and take the time to teach people.
Mm-hmm.
That's the really honest truth.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
I don't know. I have a soft spot in my heart for, I went through a lot of pain, man. I could tell you guys hours and hours of stories, and I won't, but I went through for about 8-9 years, like horror stories, like, not wanting to live and, and then I lost more than I had, and I stopped for 5 years and studied how to beat Vegas and looked at mathematical and crunched numbers. So it's a lot behind my story to what took me to where I'm at today, and that's for obviously another time, another place. But, that's kind of where I'm at. And that's when you say transparency, it's like, man, I don't want to lead nobody down the wrong avenue. There's games that they're highly rated not to lose, but there is no guarantee. I mean, there is some that are getting fixed if you know the right people. But, there's none of that going around. And when you know the right people, you're definitely not giving that to anybody, right? If you know a game's happening, the referee's doing something, you ain't giving that to nobody.
True story, man. Really great stuff, and definitely look forward to having you on the network. Really enjoy having Double Dime as part of Podcast City Network, and definitely going to do more stuff with you with Final Score. It's going to be some great stuff, man. Now, with Double Dime, you said you guys are on a bunch of platforms. Where can they find Double Dime?
Yeah, so you can find us mainly, like I said, the main thing's Twitter at Fixed Edge. If you put in Fixed Edge Investing. We're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube channel, and that's where we're going to start going live from. We're doing it Twitter, which I'll probably just link the feed. Want to take that to the YouTube channel. Getting ready to spend quite a bit of money here once everything's up to really promote. And, because what I have is you got to put it in front of people's eyes, right? They're already paying and losing all this money. Right. So that's the key. And then everybody's talking and everybody's saying the same thing. Right. So they done heard it 100 times. So my thing is, I just want to show them. Right. I don't need nothing from nobody. At first, I won't take $1 from nobody. Right. I'll set them up and actually show them before they pay me. Like, how do you not beat that? Everybody else got some other game going on. It's like, look, you don't got to do nothing, but just put your bankroll to me. I get a lot of guys will start doing with me, and then I'm messaging them, and next thing you know, they're telling me the plays they got. I don't want those guys because I'm going to make them a little bit of money on percentage-wise, and they're going to lose a whole lot more, So then where am I going? I'm calling the guy, and I'm wasting my energy and listening to stories because they're betting other stuff because they got a gambling issue. So it's tough, man. Gambling's real, and it's not a lot of people out there that have like, oh, man, what do you do about a guy that's gambling all his money away and his kids don't eat? Like, I have a thing where we're going to give money back to those people. Right, it's going to be a give back section where I'm going to have an account and literally going to add from winning games to whoever wants to donate. And twice a year or whatever, I'm going to present a check to people that I know so-and-so lost all the savings, all the funds, and they can't pay their mortgage, etc. So I got a lot of big things in store when it comes to all that. I mean, that's my outreach is to be able to give back to the struggling of gambling addiction because it's huge, guys. I know you guys don't know. I'm just telling you from what I grew up. I watched my dad do it, and I just fell in. You're kind of bred into it. It's not something that you're like, oh, should I go gamble today? It's kind of just something that's in your blood.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, Davey, thank you so much for joining us, bringing us all this great information, and showing all of our fans the great stuff with Double Dime and the things that you can do to be able to battle things like gambling addiction and also be able to invest intelligently. So definitely some great stuff. Make sure to go check out Double Dime at Fixed Edge on Twitter and, of course, Fixed Edge Investing on YouTube, and check out all the great episodes of Double Dime as well as their Instagram. Thank you so much for joining us today, man. We really enjoyed having you on the show.
No problem, guys. Thanks for having me, man. I look forward to doing more stuff with you guys.
Absolutely.
All right, you take care of yourself, bud.
All right, we're going to go all money line today. So we'll take the Packers, the Giants, and the Rams, right?
There we go.
Money line.
There we go.
Oh, man.
All right, you guys enjoy the rest of your show. I'm going to head back from crazy South Beach here and get back to town. I'm going to tune in your guys' show on the way home.
Absolutely. Take care, bud, and thank you so much.
All right, man. You guys too.
All right, take it easy. Man, some great stuff there. Almost as great as all the great stuff that we offer with our PCN shop. What can you tell us about that, Craig?
Absolutely. Well, it's still a holiday season. If you're in the giving spirit, you got to give some Podcast City Network merchandise, whether it's a neck gaiter to protect you from COVID-19, a mug for your morning coffee, or just a t-shirt you want to represent the network or your favorite show. We've got you covered. You can get the latest apparel and gear for your favorite podcast, whether it's Urban Nerd Weekly, Everett Lee Show, Fixed Edge, Final Score. We've got you covered. And you just gotta visit podcastcity.net/shop and check out the entire lineup.
Oh yeah, definitely some awesome stuff that we have going on with the shop. So much new stuff that we've been putting up. I think we're up to almost 100 items, if I'm not mistaken. Just, plugging away at it, man. Just plugging away. So definitely check out all the great stuff that we have on there. Podcastcity.net/shop. So definitely check it out. Man, that was fun, though, to have S Money on here on the show. But now we got to change gears a little bit on over to NFL football, because we are in week 17, and it's been a doozy, man. It's been an absolute doozy. So with this week, though, week 17 every year, sets up where all the games are going to be on Sunday. So we have a bunch of 1 o'clocks, a bunch of 425s, and of course the Sunday night game. We already covered our first 3 with S Money, but we're going to cover the rest with all of you now, starting, oh my goodness, I only got so far with all that, starting with the Dolphins and the Bills. 10-5 Dolphins traveling to the 12-3 Bills, but no Ryan Fitzpatrick because of COVID-19. A lot of craziness going on. What's your take on this one, Craig?
This is going to be a tough game for Miami just because you're in a tough position. You're at Buffalo. You are missing out on Ryan Fitzpatrick, so they brought in Jake Rudock from the practice squad to fill in as the backup. So this is all on Tua from an offensive standpoint. Now, I mean, the line, if you're paying attention to that, the line has been moving a decent amount. Right now, it's +1 for the Bills, which is kind of crazy that it moved from the Bills being the favorite now to Miami being the favorite. So, really kind of what we're looking at here is I'm not like you're putting it on Tua's shoulders. Like this is the game where Tua has to be able to do this in a crunch time situation. They can't bench him to put Fitzpatrick in when they feel like, hey, we need somebody to push the ball down the field. This is a game for Tua. This is a real measuring stick game. So how are they going to call this game? Are they going to call this a very conservative for Tua, or are they going to allow him to push the ball down the field and really kind of test and see where he's at in his growth process? It's still the end of his first rookie season, his first year. We understand that. But I'm going to take Buffalo in this game. I think they're just going to be a little bit too much. They'll force a little bit of mistakes, but you're looking at Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs on that side. Those two, that tandem has been absolutely unstoppable this year. So I'm going to take Buffalo to go to 13-3 and finish off the regular season.
God, who knew we'd be sitting here talking about the Bills possibly being 13-3? That just blows my mind. But hey, we're coming out of 2020. What do you expect? So in our next game, we have the 10-5 Baltimore Ravens traveling over to take on the Cincinnati Bengals, who are 4-10-1. Last I see here, Baltimore is favored by 12. Baltimore, as far as I know, is going to be at full strength, as will Cincinnati. So no COVID issues or crazy injury issues or anything of that nature. But the Ravens are playing for their playoff lives right now. So they have to make sure that they win this game and they'll be in the playoffs. So definitely a lot at stake right now. And Cincinnati, I'm sure, wants to play spoiler like no other. But we've seen the magic of Lamar Jackson, especially late in the season. He's been able to re-guide this team back on course. Now 10-5, on the cusp of being 11-5, and making a good playoff push. So Ravens, I think, are going to be really up for this game. Cincinnati still with a backup quarterback, with Burrow being out for the year. Don't have a whole lot going on. Have been able to pull out some miraculous stuff, mainly against a team that shouldn't have any business winning their division or being in the playoffs, but we'll talk about the Steelers later. So at the end of the day, though, the Ravens are going to be able to get up. They're going to win this game, and they're going to dominate the Bengals. Don't know if they'll cover, but they're definitely going to get the win, and that's what they need right now.
Moving on, Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to the 10-5 Cleveland Browns. I'm trying to bring up all my stuff here. Of course, my internet and computers are fantastic. It's so shoestring budget's fantastic. So
I get that Chris
in this
give
game,
you more money.
Yeah, I know, right? I need to get a bigger budget. Like, who do I got to talk to in this network to give me a bigger budget? But in all seriousness, this game basically, this is more, all the pressure is on the Browns here. It's the Browns are favored by 9.5 because of the fact that Ben Roethlisberger is not playing. Mason Rudolph is going to be in. Myles Garrett has been named a captain today, just out of spite. Like it's going to be a really intriguing game because of the fact that you have no Big Ben, and you're putting in Mason Rudolph, who's only thrown 4 passes this year, and we've seen what he did in last year. Not great, but not horrible. All the pressure here is on the Browns. It's on Baker Mayfield. It's on Baker Mayfield. This offense, when they can run the ball and establish that run, Baker is a lot more comfortable. He doesn't have to force the ball down the field. He doesn't have to make those big third down decisions and have to get the third and longs. that run game really helps him out. So the Steelers defense, for as good as they've been, we've seen what happens when that offense cannot produce.
Mm-hmm.
So this game is this game is really going to be more of, can the Browns go out and win it versus will the Steelers go out and actually lose the game. So I'm going to take the Browns, but I'm not super confident in that pick. To be honest with you, I'm not super confident. I think if you're betting here, I would take Pittsburgh to cover the spread, because it's 9.5. I mean, your action's there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to take the Browns to win, but Pittsburgh will cover.
And I know people in the chat right now are asking about the AFC playoff scenarios. When it comes to the Browns, if they win,
we'll get to that.
They are in. Plain and simple.
Yeah, we'll get to that. And because we put that out in social media last week.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we'll get our picks of who we think is going to make the playoffs at the end.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that, but we're just talking about the scenarios right now. So with the Browns, they win, they're in. If they don't, they do win most or lose most tiebreaker scenarios. So the Browns, if they end up having a dismal week, if things don't go their way, they could get pinched out. So something to keep in mind with this. Also, which one was I looking at? Also with Miami. Miami's in a much better situation, though, with those kind of scenarios, just because of the fact of who they've been able to beat to this point. So if they fall to 10-6, it won't be easy, but they still have a possibility of being able to get in. So it's going to be real crazy how this all plays out. It's really just a 4-team race. But like we said, we'll get to more of that here in a little bit. But our next game, we have the 6-9 Minnesota Vikings traveling on over to your Detroit Lions, who are 5-10. But Matt Stafford is expected to play today through all the crazy injuries that guy is going through right now. You know, there needs to be like a Tough Man of the Year award they need to give out, like a real Tough Man of the Year. And it needs to go to Matt Stafford, because that dude continually gets his ass handed to him week in and week out. And he keeps coming back saying, "Sir, may I please have another?" So I got to give hats off to Matt Stafford. That dude has balls of steel, like plain and simple. So
he's the definition. He's like the definition of a guy that has every reason to quit. He's got every reason to give up on this team and this organization, and he still goes out, and he was playing with basically a broken back for a number of weeks, and he's got all these injuries, but he's still been out on the field and playing. So it's really unfortunate that, you know, he's had to go through it. First it was Barry, then it was Megatron, now it's Stafford. It's really unfortunate, but one of these days, maybe, as a hopeful Lions fan, maybe that'll happen.
Just maybe. And with this game, though, I still feel Minnesota's defense is going to be too strong for Stafford. I think the Vikings are going to end up taking it. They are favored by 4.5, and I think they will cover. So sorry about your Lions, bud. You guys are going to go to 5-11. But there was news that came out today that you guys are pursuing the Seahawks GM, so that's a bold move. Maybe it'll work out for you, Cotton.
Well, I mean, the Lions should. This is a type of game where the Lions should lose to go to 5-11 and get a better draft pick, but they'll turn around and fucking win. Like that's what the Lions will do. So I'm not going to say I would pick the Lions, but this is exactly a type of game that the Lions will go out and win when they're supposed to lose.
Oh, but Jimmy has comment of the day so far. Matt, why do I even bother Stafford? I think that is the best. Oh my gosh. Too good. My goodness. But what do we have in our next game?
We've got the 2-13 Jets traveling to Foxborough, the 6-9 Patriots. Lots of changes in the AFC East this year. The big news that comes out of this game is that Adam Gase is officially fired. Jets fans rejoice here.
Yeah, Jets fans all ran to their toilets and went. So you can flush down the turd known as Adam Gase.
Adam Gase's head coaching career is probably completely finished at this point.
Oh.
But really,
he doesn't need.
Really the question here is going to be for the Patriots. Who do you go with at quarterback? There's been that revolving door. Is it Cam Newton, and then Jared Stidham comes in the middle of the game? I'm not paying too much attention to this game because neither team has anything to really gain, which is why the Jets, with a brand new coach, interim head coach, traveling to Foxborough, and because it's 2020 and this Patriots organization has been just crumbling from the inside because of players opting out this year, defensive players opting out. Patriots are not the same Patriots we've come to expect. I would not be surprised to see the Jets pull off a monster upset just because.
Oh yeah, and it's it's so ridiculous. Just so the Jets are just gonna keep bashing their knee in. I wonder if this would even, maybe no, they already locked up the number 2 draft position, so they can't get any worse. Yep. But I mean, it would be a very New York thing to do. But I have a lot of funny stuff about the Jets later that we're gonna have in Meme Madness, so y'all can just wait and marinate on that one. But in our next game, our last 1:00 game, we have the 4-11 Atlanta Falcons traveling on down to Tampa to take on the 10-5 Brady-led Buccaneers, or the Tampa Bay Bradyneers. I don't know. Either way, Tampa Bay is favored by 6.5. Tampa's at full strength. Listen to you. Oh my
God. Tampa
Buccaneers. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Tampa Bay Bradyneers. Right. We're gonna have too much fun with this. We're gonna be making shirts at the end. Watch. So, anyways, we're looking at this game. Tampa's 10-5. They've already locked up a playoff spot, so they really don't need the win. But I think right now Tampa's playing just for respect more than anything. And you're against a Falcons team that is pretty garbage. So I mean, we already know what's going to happen here. Tampa's going to end up rolling up the Falcons. The Falcons still without Julio Jones. Matt Ryan's been thrown for his life and somehow is still in the top 5 in passing yards, but it only got you a 4-11 record. So enjoy your T-shirt, go home, and enjoy your loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Well, I mean, when you're the Falcons, you have to throw to stay in games, and their offense is still not a slouch. I mean, you got a lot of weapons there, so yeah, they have to throw to stay in games, which is why they kept up. And it was an ugly game against the Chiefs, and they had a chance, but it's just, that's the way that this season's going for the Atlanta Falcons. They had the game in hand. Literally Terrell had the interception in his hands, and he hit the ground and dropped it. And it's like, oh my goodness. That was
the epitome of their season in one moment. So, I think it was actually quite perfect, but hey.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh my!
I'm trying to bring up my info for the Raiders Broncos game that's right now. This is just absolutely.
I know Jimmy is watching the show right now, probably sitting in suspense, wondering what you're going to say about Raiders Broncos.
You know what, Jimmy, I am too. I don't know what's going on and why the internet has been so ungodly slow here.
Thanks,
at this fortress. Yeah, well, it's a combination of having a laptop that's not great, and I can't use this one. It's not even for the show.
We just got but really,
yeah. I mean, that's why I got more computers over there ready. Trying to get built, ready to go. But with this game, the Broncos and Raiders. God, now my outline's not even loading up.
All right, so Raiders are 7-8. Broncos 5-10. Vegas is favored by 2.5.
I mean, honestly, for this game, I'm not paying attention to it. No team really has much to gain out of this, unless you're looking at draft position for the Broncos. My brain would tell me to pick the Raiders just because they play better. They play a lot better brand of football than the Broncos do. I mean, the Broncos, you're on the shoulders of Drew Lock. There's not a whole lot there right now. Is that going to be your guy of the future? But with the Raiders, you got to deal with Darren Waller. You got to deal with Josh Jacobs. Derek Carr hasn't been playing terrible. Their defense did everything they needed to do in the last couple of weeks to win some games, and they haven't really done it. So they got to go the distance. Their rebuild is in process, and I think they're a little bit further along than they maybe thought they would be with Gruden. But I think the Raiders finish 8-8 on the year. They'll go into Denver. They'll win this game. It'll be a very, very tight game, but I think the Raiders win.
Absolutely, and I think Jimmy has the absolute best idea. With Craig's tech woes, just spur us on to buy more merch so he can get a better setup. Yes, Jimmy, great idea. Make sure to go buy some Final Score and Podcast City Network merch so we can get Craig a better computer.
Yeah,
and-
or just donate to the show. That'd be great. We can
too.
deal with that too.
Absolutely. We got a PayPal, right? At PCN Finals, was it PCNFinalScore@gmail.com? Send us some money on PayPal. But Final Score, man, Final Score left a comment on here saying Craig's laptop is going for crap team perfection. Man, that's harsh. I don't know who posted
Hey, I
that.
wonder who's running that account right now, producer.
Yeah, I don't know. Where is that guy? Oh man, Chris Carnage running amok. Anyways, in our next game though, we have the 1-14 Jacksonville Jaguars with the number 1 pick in the draft all locked up, ready to take on the Indianapolis Colts at 10-5. Indianapolis having their own playoff implications, which we said I said in the chat, we'll say it here too. We're gonna cover all the scenarios at the end. I have the full list, and it's gonna be great. Trust me. Indianapolis is favored by 14. Jacksonville, I don't feel like really has a shot in this game whatsoever. Jacksonville does still have a decent-ish pass rush, but I just don't feel it's going to be enough to really stop Phillip Rivers and the Indianapolis Colts. Indianapolis has been firing on all cylinders, really making some magic happen and winning games that nobody thought they actually would. So Colts are playing also for their playoff lives. I just don't see a scenario where they're going to lose at home to the Jaguars, the 1-14 Jaguars, where there also is no Minshew mania or anything like that going on. So there's just no way I see the Colts losing. I think the Colts win. They may or may not cover, but the W is what the important part is for them.
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing to play for right now in Jacksonville. You got the number 1 seed locked up. The Colts have a lot more to play for. I don't see a lot coming out of this game either.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on. The 14-1 Kansas City Chiefs hosting the 6-9 LA Chargers. This is going to be a 4:25 game on Fox. Kansas City is plus 5.5. That's not right.
Well, there's no Patrick Mahomes.
Plus 5.5, 43 over under. Yeah, I mean, they've got the number 1 seed locked up, and really what you're looking at for this game is that the Chiefs can turn it on whenever they want when they are fully healthy and everybody's playing. So Justin Herbert still having a monster year for a rookie. I mean, hats off to him. Most touchdown passes by rookies. Got 4,000 yards, 28 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. And I believe Chad Henne is going to be starting for the Chiefs. 35-year-old Chad Henne is going to be out there.
Yep. Yo boy.
Slinging the rock. So, yeah, I think with starters sitting out for the Chiefs, they've already got the number 1 seed locked up. And really for the Chargers, you're trying to show some improvement. You're trying to show that your head coaching staff is, one is able to stick around for another year. So Chargers take this game. It'll probably be close just because it's the Chargers and you're traveling to Arrowhead. It's probably not the weather's not going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no fans, so you don't have to worry about that. Chargers in a close one.
That makes sense, and I can see that definitely happening. In our next game, we have the 11-4 Seattle Seahawks traveling on down to take on the rival, the 6-9 San Francisco 49ers. Seattle is favored by 7, and Seattle also has some playoff implications dealing with the top of the NFC pecking order, so they're definitely going to be coming out and trying to win this game. 49ers, though, have been having an array of issues all year long, have been massively inconsistent on offense, have been massively inconsistent on defense, but somehow have stumbled to a 6-9 record. Definitely not going to be a winning record, but I mean, given that they had lost so many of their key players so early on, to even get to almost 500, I think is actually a win for the 49ers. However, they're not going to get a win today because Russell Wilson and this offense is going to be able to do what they do best, and they're going to be able to push this team to 12-4 and be able. I think they're going to cover as well. The line was only at 7. I think Seahawks take it by 10.
New Orleans Saints wrapped up the NFC South title for the 4th straight season, and they have a outside shot at getting the number 1 seed. They can win today against the 5-10 Panthers on the road, and Green Bay loses and Seattle wins. The Saints can get the number 1 seed. Mm-hmm. So that's really what they're looking at here is they just got to handle their business. I think they do that because they have Drew Brees has been back in the lineup. He hasn't been super effective, but they've been doing other things that help put them in a position to win. Carolina Panthers, they're they're eliminated from playoff contention, so they don't really have a whole lot to play for. Really, I wouldn't be surprised to see certain guys sitting for the Panthers because you don't have a lot to play for. You want to rest up and get some younger guys some experience. So I'm going to take the Saints, and basically then they're going to sit and they're going to very intently watch the Green Bay Chicago game tonight.
Yeah, but the big thing you got to look at too with that game is that with the Saints, they don't have a running back. They don't even have a running back coach, thanks to COVID-19. So definitely going to be interesting. Need it.
Yeah, with Kamara and all the running backs out, they had, I think, one running back, and they had to pull somebody from their practice squad.
Yep.
Just to have enough to dress. So, but with that offense, I mean, it's Sean Payton's offense. It's literally a plug and play. They're not going to be as effective as Kamara, but it's literally plug and play. I think it's similar to what the Chiefs do when they're fully healthy and they're missing somebody at the receiver spot. They just plug somebody in and they get 100 yards and 3 touchdowns. It's insane.
Which pretty much been happening anyways with Michael Thomas out of the lineup. So, hey,
yeah,
definitely see how it works out. But in our last 425 game, we have the 10-5 Tennessee Titans traveling on down in Houston to take on the 4-11 Houston Texans. And man, 4-11, I felt like the Texans had so much more going for them this year, and things just didn't work out. Having players that have been injured or suspended, Will Fuller looking at you, and just not being able to get things together. Tennessee is favored by 7.5. This is going to be, I think, another Derrick Henry show. Yes, I said Derrick Henry show was going to happen last week. Sorry, they played in the snow. What do you want from me? I didn't know it was going to snow. But you're down in Houston. You're in a dome. There is not going to be snow. So guess who's going to run wild? Derrick Henry. So watch Derrick Henry. I'm going to call it 150 yards and 2 touchdowns at least in this game as they end up rolling up the Houston Texans to push their record to 11-5 and cement themselves in the AFC South.
Well, it didn't help that Green Bay had the football gods on their side, and by football gods I mean referees. So that's really what did the Titans in. I mean, they did bottle up Derrick Henry to an extent, but I mean, that's really what I mean. Let's be real. If you watch that game, which I did watch a good chunk of it, there was a lot of questionable calls made in favor of Green Bay. So it always makes you wonder. Did we watch JJ Watt's speech? Yes. And I don't know exactly who he was calling out, but that was a fantastic speech. But that's why he's the face of that team. It's going to be wild. It's wild to see the changes that are going to happen in Houston next year. But yeah, that's the type of guy that you want to lead your locker room and lead your team. And JJ Watt very rarely holds it back. So yeah, it was an interesting speech to watch.
Absolutely was. But we got one more game in what will end up being our final game of the 2020 regular season, and that is the Washington football team / club versus my Philadelphia, we don't know how to play football anymore, Eagles. What's your take on this one?
I was really surprised they didn't flex this game out of the Sunday night game and flex even the Green Bay game in, or flex even like the Rams game, which is a West Coast game. Like, I'm surprised they didn't flex this out, but I think it's due to the fact that the Washington football team still does have the chance. I believe they're still in the driver's seat for the NFC East. If they win, they win the division.
And I think that's the reason that they kept this game here, because it is the only game that has direct division title implications this week. They're the only team that has a chance to outright win the division in the NFC East. So if they beat the Eagles, they win the NFC East. Football team and the team with no name goes to the playoffs. This is really 2020. My gosh. But if the football team loses somehow to the Philadelphia Eagles, no matter who's at quarterback, it will come down to whoever wins the Giants and Cowboys matchup. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah, and with this game, obviously, if you've been paying attention to anything related to the Washington football team, Dwayne Haskins, of course, he had started and then he got benched, and now he's cut completely. He cleared waivers. So really from there, they're they're banking on Alex Smith being the guy at quarterback. If not, there's really a lot of question marks here. They're also missing rookie Antonio Gibson, who's at running back for them. That's had such a phenomenal season. He's missed the last 2 games. He's also questionable again with turf toe. Smith is still questionable with the strained calf. Because like this would be a very, very Washington thing to do and a very Eagles thing to do. I like everything in my being would be telling me to pick the Eagles to just go on national TV, derail Washington's season, and just prevent them from making the playoffs and winning the NFC East. And you know who's going to end up making the NFC East division winner? A 6-10 New York Giants. That's how 2020 the NFL season's going to be. That's my prediction. Washington loses to the Eagles. Giants win. Giants take the NFC East.
Well, you know I can't end a 2020 season without putting in a Philadelphia Eagles pick. And I know over the past few weeks, and it's even been presented in meme format, that I have been very, very skeptical of my Eagles. But looking at this, it's hard to pick the Eagles. But I will pick them because the Philadelphia Eagles are going to win, move to 5-10-1, and totally destroy the team with no names playoff hopes. And it's going to be a beautiful day. I hope Alex Smith cries. Sorry for your injury, but, you can deserve to cry for one day. So it's going to be interesting. But we had talked about the playoff scenarios, and we're going to go ahead and jump into that real quick. Just to give you the quick rundown, we're going to start on the NFC side. Now, when it comes to the race for the NFC wildcard spots, it is literally down to 3 teams: the Rams, the Bears, and the Cardinals. For the Rams to make the NFC wildcard, they need to win or have the Bears lose. Now, for the Bears, they have to win or have the Cardinals lose. And for the Cardinals, they just got to win. You win, you're in. So it's the Cardinals have the most uphill battle. They got to win and they're in, but still, it's going to be very interesting to see how they shake out. Bears probably with the hardest test, having to go up against the Green Bay Packers. So it's going to be interesting for those final wild card spots. Now, as Craig had alluded to earlier with the race for the NFC home field advantage, it's going to be just a 3-way dance between the Packers, the Saints, and the Seahawks. The Packers clinch it with a win. If they win, they get it. Or if Seattle loses, they also are able to clinch. The Saints need to win plus have Green Bay lose and Seattle win, as you had alluded to earlier. And the Seahawks need to win plus have New Orleans lose and Green Bay lose. So those are your scenarios for the NFC home field advantage. And, of course, we had already gave the rundown of the NFC East title, so we're not going to do that one again. But that's just going to be the most interesting one probably to watch because it's going to be probably another shit show. Because literally it has been the division of who gets the division title. I don't want the division title. You have the division title. So we'll see how it works out.
So who do you got getting the wild card spot then?
So
Rams, Bears, or Cardinals?
So looking at this, I honestly just don't see the Bears being able to have enough to beat Green Bay. So I think, honestly, the Bears are going to be out of it. And with the Bears out of it, that's going to go ahead and turn around and give it right to the Rams. So I think it's going to end up being the Rams either way.
Yeah, this game, really, I think it's the winner of the Cardinals-Rams game is going to get it. The Bears do have a win and in scenario, but like you said, they do have it at home, but it's a tough game against a Green Bay team that has been rolling. So I think the winner of the Rams Cardinals game gets that as far as home field advantage. Packers most likely going to win the game. So I would have them clinching home field advantage. I already mentioned the NFC East. I think the Giants take it. I think the Giants win and then the Washington loses and they take it.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I think that's the one scenario I might be least angry with. So, I think I'll go ahead and take that and just watch the Giants get destroyed week 1 of the playoffs. So, but I agree also with the home field advantage. Packers, I just don't see losing to Chicago. So, Packers win and they take home field. So, going to be interesting. Now, on the AFC side, this is where things get a little bit crazy. Because there's a lot of scenarios with this. And before we get into the wild card aspect, which is really the craziest aspect, we're going to cover the AFC South title. Because this also ties into the wild card. Now, with the race for the AFC South title, the Titans are in the driver's seat. So all they have to do is win, and they take the AFC South. Now, if the Colts happen to lose, they also, even if the Titans lose, if the Colts lose, they still take that because the Colts need to win and have the Titans lose to be able to have any shot at taking the AFC South title. So it's going to be real interesting. Now, with that, the Titans or the Colts are going to fall into then the wild card scenarios where it gets very, very muddled. The Dolphins need to win or have a Baltimore loss or a Cleveland loss or an Indianapolis loss, and the Dolphins will get in. Now, with the Ravens, they have to win or have a Cleveland or Indianapolis loss, and they will get in. The Browns probably have the most stacked against them, though. The Browns need to win or have an Indianapolis loss or have a Tennessee loss paired with a Baltimore win and an Indianapolis win and a Miami win to be able to get into the playoffs. So very crazy scenarios. Now for our AFC South team that does not win the division, if the Titans don't win the division, they have to have a Baltimore loss or an Indianapolis loss or a Miami loss, and they will get that wild card spot. If it's the Colts, they have to have Tennessee and a Baltimore loss and a Cleveland loss and a Miami loss. Basically, everybody has to lose if they aren't able to win this last game. So it's going to be insane. It's going to be absolutely insane. Oh, sorry, no, correction. They have to win and have all those happen.
Yes.
So Colts have the absolute most stacked against them right now. It's going to be absolutely insane to see how this plays off. So, man, that was a lot to say. So I'm going to take a moment. You go ahead and give your 2 cents. Who do you think ends up winning the AFC South title and ends up clinching wildcard spots?
Well, looking at the AFC South first, it's the Titans have Houston. That should be a shoo-in win for them, which would then force the Colts to be out regardless of what they do. Colts play first, though, so the Colts are probably going to win, and then they're really going to watch that Tennessee-Houston game. So I would take the Colts to be the team that's on the outside looking in. I mean, they had such a hot start this season, and you got to be disappointed in that. But as far as the playoff scenarios, Titans, they're going to win their division, so they're going to be out or be out of this scenario rather. Dolphins are going to hope. I think they're going to get the Indy. Indy's not going to lose. Cleveland will lose most likely. It has the biggest potential to lose. This is really going to be a fun scenario. I think the 3 teams that end up making that wild card would be probably the Dolphins, Ravens, and Browns. Because if any of those 3 teams win, the Colts are already out anyway.
Yep. Yeah, There's no way I feel the Colts are gonna make it, even with a win.
So I think the Colts are gonna win, and it's unfortunate that an 11-win team is gonna miss the playoffs.
I mean, hey,
like
can we just give them the NFC East title?
I mean, we should. Can we swap them out for the NFC East?
Yes, and then we'll go ahead and flex the Eagles and Washington out of the Sunday night game real quick.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. But yeah, I think that's going to be the wildest scenario that everyone's going to talk about next week is that the Colts will be an 11-win team and miss the playoffs.
Yeah, and that just shows how competitive the AFC is this year. But then again, it also doesn't help when you look on the other end. You have a 1-14 Jags and a 2-13 Jets who've just been punching bags for a lot of these guys. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, with how this works out, I agree the Titans are going to take the AFC South title. I just don't see any scenario where they don't, which will automatically pretty much eliminate the Colts. So the Colts are going to be out of it right off rip. From there, though, you're looking at Dolphins, Ravens, and Browns. At that point, if with Colts out, it automatically defaults to them. So it's going to be interesting to see how it works out. But because I don't see Tennessee losing, I honestly don't really see Baltimore losing. So I think the Colts are going to be the odd man out. And yeah, we're going to be talking next week about 11-5 team not making the playoffs. So, man.
Yeah, and Jimmy asked in the chat, how many double-digit win teams missed the playoffs? I think only one. I think probably the Colts being 11-5, because even if the Rams win, they're going to be 10-6. They're winning, they're in. So I mean, they're not going to miss the playoffs if they win. And that's the only other double-digit win team that has a chance. The Bears are not on that doorstep. The Cardinals are not on that doorstep. It's really the AFC, and you're looking at that. So, But the real question is going to be if the Titans lose for whatever reason, then now it's going to be real intriguing to see what happens. Because if the Titans lose, Colts win, Titans are completely out of the running. They're out of the playoffs, and they'll be a 10-win team. So I think only one.
Yeah, I think it'll be one pretty much no matter what. But it's, like you said, it's going to be wild. And if Tennessee somehow does end up losing to Houston in some miraculous kind of craziness, this whole thing's going to get thrown in the air. So, yeah, but it's probably just going to be in one. So we'll try and stick with that for now, and we'll see how it all plays out through the rest of today. But one thing that we always like to play out and see the awesomeness of is all the great content platforms that Final Score is on. What more can you tell us about that?
Yeah, you can find all of our audio content on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Stitcher, Podbean, and Google Podcasts. You can find the video version of all of our podcasts on YouTube. You just search keyword Final Score. That's one word. And of course, you can find all of our content, all of our episodes on Podcast City Network's website, podcastcity.net/Final Score.
Yep, definitely a lot of great stuff. Definitely make sure to go out, go like, go subscribe, go follow. A lot of great stuff we have on there, including all of our weekly episodic amazingnesses that we put out. Yes, I'm going to give it a crazy big name because that's how I do. But we now have to switch gears on over to college football. And there's a reason I'm not wearing a Notre Dame shirt today. And it hurt a little. It did hurt a little, but it was a better performance. And that was Notre Dame losing to Alabama 31-14. Not our, obviously how we wanted it to turn out. But, hey, we were competitive. When you look at the stat line, we were real even with Alabama throughout almost every single stat. They only had us on passing yards by like 40 yards. And that scoreboard, that scoreboard part where they got like 17 more points than we did. But, hey, we covered. So, screw all you people who told me it was going to be by 40. So, definitely wasn't how it wanted to turn out. But, hey, Notre Dame has a great season, goes 10-2, and back to independence next year. So, I mean.
I didn't say 40. I said Bama by 20. So.
Yeah, 17. Suck it.
I was close.
Oh my goodness. Let me just dry my tears on this Podcast City Network neck gator. No cheap plugs
but
here.
the real one here that we're talking about in the playoff is number 3 Ohio State defeating number 2 Clemson. And what ended up being just a complete destruction of Clemson. And I think part of what came out of this, I mean, you can look at how Trevor Lawrence played and look at the stats and look at how everything went. Yeah, there was you have that, but Clemson showed some flaws earlier in the year when they lost to Notre Dame. And I think especially Ohio State they've literally had this game circled on their calendar ever since they lost and got destroyed by Clemson the year before. So I'm not entirely surprised that Ohio State came out and did what they did. Mm-hmm. But it's a one and done thing for me because I don't think anybody matches up with Alabama the way that we would expect. So Ohio State, they had this game circled on their calendar. This is a big time revenge game for them. And I'm not surprised that they did. I'm surprised Justin Fields played as well as he did.
Oh yeah. Especially after taking a shot that he did.
Yeah. Taking the shot that he did. And especially the kind of terrible game that he played in the Big Ten championship game against Northwestern. His draft stock was talking about getting sliding all week and him not being the number 2 quarterback taken in this next draft. Now I think that stock has gone way up, especially on that stage against that team. Now the big one's going to be, can he do it against a team like Alabama? Oh, yeah. And that's a conversation for later in this episode.
Oh yeah, for sure. And we'll definitely get to that in a moment, but just to see what he was able to do in that game was absolutely amazing. Considering too, and one thing I think he credited a lot of the fuel behind it being is the fact that Dabo Swinney had talked all to the lead up of this game about how Ohio State didn't deserve to be there and how he had them ranked 11th in his rankings in the coaches poll. So, I think that ended up fueling this Ohio State team to play beyond what they were able to.
What's really funny is that in the coaches polls, he said that he ranked them 11. He did not actually rank them 11.
Oh,
In the
Dabo.
actual coaches polls that are submitted, they actually said that Dabo did not have them ranked 11. He just said that.
Just for shock value. And what did that do? Definitely did not work out for him and his team that day.
Well, realistically, what you're looking at for Clemson here is they just keep retooling and kind of I think next year's Clemson team is going to be that window. I think this is kind of the end of that because you don't have a guy coming in like you had Deshaun Watson and then you had Kelly Bryant who did well. And then you're like, let's open the door. We got Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, but
they don't have another Trevor Lawrence like guy who can come out and do what they're doing.
I don't know. DJ Uiagalelei honestly is a very talented 5-star talent. That was honestly very, very, I think for his first start to be against one of the top rated defense in the nation on the road, traveling into South Bend. I mean, you got to give that guy credit. He threw for over 400 yards as a freshman. Remember, he was a freshman. Right. So I honestly think DJ could be a guy that could be another Deshaun Watson, that could be another Trevor Lawrence, because we obviously know Trevor Lawrence isn't impervious. We saw what happened against Ohio State. So at the end of the day, I wouldn't discredit it. Now, I'm not saying that he is going to be that. Obviously, time will tell, and that's going to be something that we see in the future. But I wouldn't count it out. Clemson's been very good at reloading at the quarterback position over the past decade. So I think if they are able to keep molding DJ and keep on to their type of work ethic and what they bring with their culture, that I think DJ is going to end up being another Trevor Lawrence, honestly.
Well, really what I'm looking at with that is that I think their window for the championship is kind of closing here with Trevor Lawrence leaving. Not to say that he can't, but they're losing a lot of other players too. I mean, they're losing guys to the draft at a much faster rate, I think, than they are retooling it. Mm-hmm. And you've seen that from how their defense is played and how they're literally trying to outscore people now over the last year. Mm-hmm. And in the ACC, yes, the ACC is weak. I understand that. You take there's literally it's Clemson and nobody else. I mean, I'm keeping Notre Dame out because they're not going to be staying in the ACC. Yeah. So if you look outside of that, you had North Carolina, which is one of the best offensive teams in the country, and they still don't play well against Clemson. So it's not. I think their window is kind of closing after this season, but I think they'll still win ACC titles. They'll still get near the playoff contention, but I think you'll start seeing these types of games from Clemson moving forward.
I think yes, and I agree, but disagree. I do agree that they're going to lose a lot of talent. But they always reload. We looked at after they beat Alabama silly in that championship game. They lost all that NFL talent on the defensive side, lost talent on the offensive side. They turn around the next year, they're back in the championship game playing LSU. So it's they are always able to get there. I think the problem is going to be being able to win those big games. Are they going to be able to pull it off? Sometimes maybe not. It really just comes down to quarterback play and what kind of game plan they have at that point. Because you also got to remember, Clemson's coordinators on the defensive and offensive side are very highly sought after and eventually are going to end up leaving for other jobs. So that's also something else you got to keep in mind as well. But the big thing I'm going to see here is that, again, they are in the ACC and they control their own non-conference schedule. They can force themselves to be able to go 12-0, 13-0 every single year without issue and put themselves in the college football playoff, because if you have an undefeated Clemson that's won national titles, has won the playoff, you're not going to discredit that and be like, oh, a 13-0 Clemson team? Who's going to say that? Especially if they're being led by Dabo. So then again, comes down to the whole craziness that we have, that we're even having this conversation, because they should just expand the playoff and, just make it easier all the way around. Get all the conference champions, eventually. Get your at-large bids. But,
Eventually they will.
I hope they do.
Yeah, they will. But before we move on to the national championship, we had a few other games that happened this week. Kind of starting with from where we left off last week, we had Tuesday night's game, number 21 Oklahoma State, and won in a thriller against number 18 Miami. I had a chance to watch some of this game. It was great. Spencer Sanders. I've been saying this ever since he started at Oklahoma State. This dude is an absolute stud, a dual threat at quarterback. 300 yards passing, 4 touchdowns. I mean, Miami made a push, and I think they're in a really good position, finishing 8-3. I know it's not up to their expectations, but this is not 2001. Okay. It's not, you gotta grow up a little bit there.
Well, another thing, too, that you got to kind of keep in mind with Miami is that they did lose quarterback De'Aaron King, who suffered from a torn ACL in this game. So it's the same knee that he also tore his meniscus in 2018 when he was at Houston. So a lot of that is going to be kind of playing into the cards here of why they probably end up losing this game, and also could affect how things are for their season next season. But as of right now, Miami has announced that De'Aaron King has already had his surgery, and they do expect him back in time for next season. But, with knee injuries, you don't know exactly what you're going to get.
Yeah, it sucks for him too, because like he had just announced that he was coming back and everybody was excited in Coral Gables, and now it's just like, now he's hurt and he's out for basically all the off season, can't do any programs, anything. It sucks. You always hate to see that, but I think both of these programs are in a pretty good position for next year. Oklahoma State's losing. They have had some guys declare already for the drafts, but they should have a lot of it's a Mike Gundy offense. They're going to be air raid and they're going to be throwing the ball around the field. So both of these programs, I think, are in a good spot.
Absolutely. And they'll have a lot to look forward moving forward. But another game I want to highlight from Tuesday, was number 20 Texas just thumping Colorado 55-23, getting that old Big 12 dusted off of Colorado. I tell you what. But Texas went in there, absolutely made it look just silly. Casey Thompson of Texas only had 10 pass attempts for 8 completions, 170 yards. Oh, yeah, and half of them were touchdowns. That's right, 4 touchdowns on 10 pass attempts. That's absolutely insane. But, I mean, Texas just went out and just gave it to them. They had 10 carries, too, by Bijan Robinson, 183 yards and a touchdown. Colorado just didn't have a chance in this game, but it's just so weird. You see Texas at 7-3, ranked 20th in the nation, and we saw what happens to the head coach, which we're going to touch on that more later.
Yeah, it's very Texas of them after only 4 seasons. Again, we'll touch on it a little bit, but Texas is a really unique scenario for any college football coach that really wants to. You're putting the pressure of having a big time program. That's like anybody taking a Michigan, Ohio State, Notre Dame, a Clemson job now. I mean, that's the type of pressure that's on you. Or even USC, throw them out there as well. But so interesting. We'll talk about that a little bit later on the show. Wednesday night, Florida, number 7. Hey, Gator fans, we can't hear you how you should have gotten the playoff. You got your asses handed to you by Oklahoma. Get out of here with that garbage. The Cotton Bowl Classic, 9-2. Now Oklahoma moves 55-20. Spencer Rattler, 247 and 3 touchdowns. And Ramondre Stevens, running back there, 186 yards and a touchdown. Gators just got blown out in this game.
Yeah, absolutely just horrid to see what happened in this. I thought Florida was going to have some kind of shot, be able to prove that their game against Alabama, even though it was a loss, was no fluke. But, I mean, that was just – Oklahoma just proved that, hey, we're Big 12 champs. Yeah, we lost 2 games early, but it doesn't matter. And maybe there's even people now after the fact arguing, should Oklahoma have been in the playoff? So, I don't know. It's very interesting, but just so crazy to see him get thumped like that. Just wild. And Kyle Trask, 3 picks.
Yeah, I think that's really going to hurt his stock, the fact that he didn't play well in this game against a team that's not known to have a great defense historically. So I think that's going to hurt Trask's stock a little bit, but I think he's still going to end up being a first-round pick. He decides to come out, which he already announced he has. So and I think it's going to hurt. He'd probably go near the end of the first round now, unless you really put a lot of stock into this game, which most are probably not going to. But it's unique scenario now for Trask in Florida, and kind of where do they go from here? Oklahoma, just stop blowing games you're not supposed to blow, and you can get in the playoff. It's not that difficult.
I mean, to their credit, they were breaking in a new quarterback with Spencer Rattler. You know, he had to kind of acclimate the position, because you got to remember he's taking over for not 1 but 2 Heisman Trophy winners. So, and don't forget, Jalen Hurts as well. So, it's just crazy when you look at that. He has to take over that. So, I mean, hats off to him being able to get to that point and be able to get that huge Cotton Bowl win. But another game I want to talk about real quick is Wisconsin playing Wake Forest. Wisconsin went out. Wisconsin had a lot of hope for this year. Ended up ending the season 4-3. Thumps Wake Forest 42-28. So not too crazy much to talk about there. But our New Year's Eve bowl games definitely did not disappoint. Had a thriller with West Virginia and Army. West Virginia wins 24-21, moves to 6-4 on the season. But one game I really want to talk about, and I think a lot of people are talking about this, is what the hell happened with Mississippi State and number 24 Tulsa. Now, we know Mississippi State won this game 28-26, but what happened right after that final gun is really what people are talking about, because we ended up with a massive, and I mean utterly massive, post-game brawl between both teams. What do you think about this?
I think a lot of players need to get suspended on the Mississippi State side for this, because that was a cheap shot at the end of the game, which then caused and sparked that brawl. I mean, honestly, Mississippi State at 3-7 at the time had no business being in a bowl game anyway, but we're in 2020 and half the teams aren't joining a bowl game. So that's why Mississippi State's in. They got that SEC bias. So they play against Tulsa, who's 6-3 now after the loss. But yeah, that cheap shot really sparked this whole brawl. And a lot of guys, it was so ugly to watch. I watched it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And even like
It's disturbing.
Mike Leach was there. Like, he was across the field and he was doing a post-game interview, and you could see he stopped in the middle of his interview. The look on his face was like, oh shit.
Oh, no thing I'm going to have to deal with.
So yeah, I think a lot of suspensions should be handed down here for player. And it's unfortunate that some of these players are probably not going to be, I don't know how many of those players were seniors that were involved. So they're probably not even going to play football again at the school. But I think there should be very heavy ramifications for the staff that's there, because that's got to be under their control a little bit too. So players that are coming back need to get suspended for multiple games going into next season. There should be fines to the school, fines to the coaching staff. This type of thing should not be happening.
Well, there's people even going as far as saying there should be criminal charges filed, that there's certain players that were involved that should have been arrested. Like, they want everything out of this. It's crazy.
I agree.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff should not be happening on a football field. Yeah, you'll get into some skirmishes, but when you got guys, literally, there was a guy from Mississippi State shoved a guy and then up towards the sideline, ran up and cleated him, tried to cleat him in his, I think it was his chest or his midsection. Like, that guy should be arrested and seeing charges.
Yeah, that's
You
ridiculous.
can't be trying to cleat guys. That's like
push league.
Thank you for putting it that way, because I was going to go.
I know you were going to go a lot worse than that.
I was going to go a lot worse than that. But yeah, it's bush league. Like, you should be arrested for that. There's no reason to be doing that.
Yeah, because you're not crazy. You know, you're not out there running around saying,
I'm a man. I'm 40.
So calm down, sit down, and don't take that kind of action. Like, you're going out there to shake hands. You just finished your season. We made it through COVID, and you got to do something stupid like that. Like, really? Like, really?
Yep.
I mean, I know all their fans are just sitting there because it's just utter stupidity. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. But, you know, it still happened, and ramifications have not been announced yet. So once they are, obviously we will report them here on Final Score on a future episode. So we'll definitely see what happens with that. But, man, just boneheaded stuff.
Yeah, moving on very quickly. Some of the other games: the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, number 9 Georgia won a nail biter against number 8 Cincinnati. I didn't get a chance to watch this game, but
amazing.
A career-long field goal to win the game. You got it when you got to step in and take over for Goggles.
Yeah, right.
Blankenship.
Good old.
When you got to take over. When you got to take over for Bubbles at kicker, I mean, hey, you kick a career-long winning field goal. That's some next level stuff for a kicker right there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And you know what? I got to say, even in a loss, hats off to Cincinnati. They honestly
had to lead
this
through
game.
3 quarters.
Absolutely. And I think they showed that they could hang with just about anybody, especially an SEC elite like Georgia. So don't count out these non-Power 5 schools, man. They can compete. So definitely very, very hats off to them. Great season. Gonna probably end sadly outside of the top 10 after that loss. But, I mean, still a great season by Cincinnati, 9-1. American Athletic conference champions. So, can't go wrong.
Yep, AAC champs. And yeah, Cincinnati's been one of those teams. It's been a best of 5 type program the last couple of years. So congrats to Luke Fickell on building that program to where it's at. There's talks that he might be going to other schools, a little bit higher profile schools. So we'll see what happens there. Citrus Bowl, 6-5 Auburn. They got destroyed by Northwestern. They're like, how often do you see an SEC team get destroyed by a Big Ten team? But
love to see it.
Northwestern's had a great season. They end up 7-2. They're 14 before new rankings come out to end the year. But hats off to Pat Fitzgerald and that team taking that game. And Bo Nix played decently well. I mean, almost 300 yards, a touchdown. I mean, still made some mistakes here and there, but
oh yeah,
it's a good season by Northwestern.
Absolutely. And now we look at our games that happened just last night. Had some nice matchups, including the Capital One Orange Bowl between number 5 Texas A&M and number 13 North Carolina. North Carolina had tried to play spoiler to some teams this year, including Notre Dame and Clemson. Didn't work out for them. They ended up falling all the way to the Orange Bowl against Texas A&M, who thought they should have been in the playoff. But this game, honestly, was a classic up until the fourth quarter when Texas A&M just started pulling away. And it wasn't even close, but part of it was because North Carolina had a number of players that sat this game. Our own, like as we mentioned earlier, S Money of Double Dime was at this game. Said just a lot of guys just didn't play. So, when you're in COVID and you're trying to make it to the NFL, you have it happen.
Yeah, North Carolina had 3 NFL prospects that were highly touted that sat out this game. But I mean, North Carolina was up 20-17 at the end of the third quarter and gave up 24 points in the fourth quarter. So that game was a lot closer than it looked.
Absolutely.
The last game we'll talk about, and then we'll go on to the national championship. The Fiesta Bowl, number 10 Iowa State. They had Oregon's number this whole game. I had a chance to watch a very big chunk of this game. Oregon just was making mistakes, man. They special teams mistakes didn't really play out very well for Oregon. They only got in because they won the Pac-12 championship, but they only got in that game because Washington wasn't able to get in. So this is just the 2020 season's really been rough for a lot of teams. Iowa State didn't have to do a whole lot. Brock Purdy was very efficient, 20 of 29, didn't throw for a lot of yards, but Breece Hall really carried the load literally for this team. 34 carries, 136 yards, and 2 scores. Iowa State, Matt Campbell, hell of a job they're doing there at Iowa State, and had a chance to win. They could have been in a better bowl game, really, had they beat Oklahoma. But Oklahoma's just got everybody else's number in the Big 12.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's kind of crazy how it's worked out. But now we're going to go ahead and switch on over to our national championship game. That's right, the College Football Playoff National Championship game that will be taking place January 11th, 8 p.m. on ESPN from Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. It'll be number 3 Ohio State, the Big Ten champs, taking on number 1 Alabama, the SEC champs. And they are undefeated. One's 12-0, the other's 7-0. But, hey, Ohio State just thumped Clemson. So this is going to be a very interesting game for a number of reasons. Huge, high-octane passing offenses. Alabama with a great running back at Najee Harris. Ohio State, a great defense. It's going to be amazing to kind of see how all this is going to come together. A lot of people don't think Ohio State should even be here. Even after beating Clemson, they still think that Ohio State should not have made the playoff at 6-0. So this is going to be crazy, man. What are your thoughts on this game?
Well, first to those, I was one of those people that's saying I don't know if Ohio State should be in. Bias aside, I don't know if they should be in the playoff, but they only played 6 games because of COVID. That's not their fault,
That's true.
So and they still were one of the better teams coming into the season. They were a team that was expected to make the playoff anyway, so I'm not going to discredit that at all. They like I said earlier in this segment, they had the game circled for Clemson. They had that game circled for a year. I think that it's like one of those games where the underdog goes and wins and then has a game. The next game they're supposed to be is also a big game, and they completely fall flat because they spent all their emotional energy on the previous game. I think that's what's going to happen here. I don't see Bama and Ohio State. Maybe it's kind of close early on. I think Justin Fields did a hell of a job in that game. If he can have another game like he just had against Clemson, I think Ohio State has a much better shot than most people will give them credit for. But at the end, I'm going to take Alabama winning 38-21 over Ohio State to clinch their 6th championship in 12 years.
Man, that is so crazy to say, man. And you're looking at the breakdown. Breaking down this game is really hard for me to try and count out Ohio State. Yeah, they're 7-0. Yeah, they didn't look great at times. Yeah, they had close wins. But what they did to Clemson, after watching even Notre Dame play Clemson both times, it's hard to count out Ohio State. I think even Notre Dame would probably get thumped by Ohio State right now. It's just crazy to see what they've been able to do, and they're playing hot when they need to. My only question mark is the health of Justin Fields after taking that absolutely nasty shot from Clemson's starting middle linebacker. It was just bone crunching. I thought his kidney exploded, honestly. I thought, dude, that dude's kidney is done. He just got nailed unprotected right in between all of his plates, all of his shoulder pads. Like, he got straight helmet to body, and it looked painful, but still goes out, throws 6 touchdowns, and shows that he is a gutsy player. So it's going to be hard to count that out, but Alabama is Alabama. They got Najee Harris, who makes everybody look silly. Devonta Smith, who literally only had 7 catches against Notre Dame for 130 plus and 3 touchdowns. Dude absolutely killed it. And Mac Jones just looking great, stepping in as the new quarterback for Bama. I don't see a way Alabama loses. I agree. I think they win 42-31. And again, like you said, claim their 6th title in 12 years. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's been phenomenal what Nick Saban's done with that program and kind of the success they've had over the long period of time they have. And, you know, it's also kind of a testament to where college football's at. It's just very top heavy. There's a couple, like right now we've got Bama, Clemson, Ohio State, and there's usually a 4th team that gets thrown in the playoff, whether it's Notre Dame or Oklahoma or somebody else. It's really unfortunately where we're at right now with college football. There's not a lot of parity. There's only the 3 top teams and then everybody else in the country. So hopefully that does change for the sake of college football and for the sake of competition. But, you know, only time will tell. Only time will tell, and we'll see. But right now it's Bama. Like, it's Bama's world. We're just living in it.
You ain't lying, honestly. It is Bama's world, and we're all just living in it. But, you know, another world I like to live in that's pretty awesome. That's the world of Podcast City Network. What can you tell us about that?
Well, FinalScore is a proud member of Podcast City Network. PCN has 19 independent podcast members across all genres of podcasting. To learn more about PCN, find them on all social media platforms, facebook.com/Podcast City Network, Twitter @Podcast City Net. On YouTube, search keywords Podcast City Network, and of course the website, podcastcity.net.
Absolutely. A lot of great stuff. But that means it's now time for the give or go. But before we jump into it, I actually have some breaking news that I've been seeing here coming across my phone. Other than the fact that Cam Newton is expected to hit free agency after enjoying his time with New England, he is expected to be gone after this year. But even bigger is dealing with the Philadelphia Eagles. Carson Wentz has been declared a healthy scratch and has been quoted as saying that the relationship between him and the Eagles is all but fractured, and the quarterback plans to help facilitate a trade in the offseason. So Carson Wentz is not going to be an Eagle come next year. God.
This man got butthurt because he's playing like fucking garbage. He got paid all that money. He got paid all that money, and now all of a sudden he turned into a diva? Bro, come on, man.
I know, man. This is ridiculous. My goodness.
And honestly, the funniest part about that, I don't see the Eagles trading him this offseason because of the amount of dead money that they have to pay for the next 2 years if he's not on their roster.
Well, the only way they can get around that, and that was the one thing, is that he's talking about trying to facilitate, which makes me wonder if they're going to do a restructure of the contract that kind of lessen that hit and then move it on forward into the back end of that contract so they can facilitate a trade.
That's the only likely scenario that if you're in this spot is you've got to restructure the deal to get rid of that dead money as much as possible. You got to transfer the money, the ownership of that money to whoever there's going to be. Mm-hmm. Plus, if he really wants, I don't think he has a no trade clause in his contract.
He doesn't.
But he does not. So there you go. All they got to do is restructure that. And Carson True Diva Wentz. Yes, that is that is ultimately true.
Diva Wentz. I love it.
Here's the upside, especially for you being an Eagles fan. Here's the upside for Eagles fans. If you can restructure that deal, and you can dump him off to some team. I don't even care if you trade him to the fucking Jets. Like, just try to get
I'd like that.
somebody. try to get somewhere where you're going to get a decent amount in return, because now you're going to have a ton of cap space that you can go actually get a wide receiver that's not a bum. You can actually go rebuild the offensive line that can't stay healthy ever.
Or fire Harry Roseman and find a better GM who's actually going to get us those pieces and not draft Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson. No, is that too much? Oh, okay.
I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility, but I mean that's what Eagles fans are clamoring for right now. Get rid of Roseman. Get rid of honestly, they're saying get rid of Wentz.
Peterson
it's
is returning next year, though. Peterson is actually going to be returning. That was already announced by the Eagles yesterday. So we know Peterson's coming back. No word on Howie yet, but now it looks like Wentz is definitely out the door. So
if you are fiercely loyal to the Eagles, they will be fiercely loyal back, and that's what we see out of Doug Peterson.
Jimmy, why would you ever suggest such a thing? He said in the chat, Wentz to the Pats. That would hurt me internally.
Let's see it.
That's the one place I actually just don't want to see him go. No, that hurts me.
I'm all for it. I
want
to see it.
God. Oh my!
And Bill Belichick is going to get him for like a 5th round pick.
Oh yeah, something stupid. Oh my God!
Because that's what Howie Roseman's like. We just want to dump him. We'll take a 5th. We'll take a 5th.
No. Just give us Stephon Gilmore and like a 5th or 6th rounder. We'll be good. Oh my goodness, this is crazy, man. Absolutely crazy. But anyways, get the show back on track with a good old give or go. The NBA is going to require players to wear sensors as part of contact tracing for COVID-19. Give or go.
This is a great move by the NBA. I mean, this is just kind of a next progression step in kind of making sure that COVID-19 is kept in check as much as possible. Wearing those GPS, they've already been doing those sensors, and tier 1 and tier 2 individuals on an organization. So players, some coaches are going to be required to wear this. They haven't really said about what the discipline will be if you're not wearing these sensors, but it's a way to kind of help, alleviate a little bit of that, the close contact that we've been seeing in a bunch of sports right now. They did a testing program that started December 23rd. Everything will be implemented on the 7th. And I think this is a good move by the NBA. I mean, you want to try to limit the amount of positive tests so you can have a season go off without a hitch as much as possible.
And what's interesting about these sensors now, these don't record any kind of GPS locating, but how it works is that these are really meant to help with social distancing while dealing in team activities. So, for instance, if you come into close proximity with someone wearing another one of these type of devices, a small proximity alarm will start sounding and will help make sure that you are able to get yourself into a safe distance. So it's really about trying to make sure that they are being more preventative than, trying to catch it as it happens. You know what I mean? So I think it's a great move too. I think this is brilliant by the NBA to try and really find different ways and think outside of the box to try and prevent COVID-19 from spreading.
Yeah, they did this on a voluntary basis in the bubble in Orlando. It says the NFL has been using these sensors this season, but we see how well that's worked out for them. But it's typically, it's going to be really intriguing to see how this affects the numbers of COVID-19 cases that happen now. I think, it's going to be a very good move by the NBA, and they've been very much on the forefront of trying to, mitigate and get rid of these COVID-19 positive tests.
Absolutely. So much so that it actually inspired the NFL to try and test these out as well. So the NFL has also been playing with this idea, which I think would also honestly help, especially when we start getting to playoff time, because we cannot risk having a single team have an issue with COVID if you want to have a legitimate playoffs. Now, especially considering we have expanded playoffs this season. So definitely going to be interesting to see how this works out moving forward. I'm definitely interested to see how it will affect the day-to-day of these players. And like you said, if we're going to end up with more or less COVID cases because of it.
Absolutely. Next topic on Give or Go. Spurs assistant coach Becky Hammon made history on Wednesday, becoming the first woman to act as head coach during an NBA regular season game. Give or go.
Now, I'm going to give on this because this is a monumentous moment. This is the first woman that we've known who has served as an NBA head coach for any kind of time during an NBA regular season game after Greg Popovich was ejected during the Spurs 121-107 loss to the LA Lakers. So huge moment for her, but this isn't the first time because don't forget that when we were, if I'm not mistaken, when we were in the preseason, she also had to take over at one point when Greg Popovich again got ejected. Man, what's this guy getting ejected for? And she was able to go in.
He's an ordinary old man.
He is. And what's funny too is that to Greg Popovich, when asked about this, he's like, it's not a big deal. She's perfectly capable. So like, why wouldn't I? So
yeah, she's been a part of this organization for a long time, and she's helped
really
with.
Time.
She's coached during the summer league. She's coached in the G League a little bit for them, like in a head coaching role. So this is fantastic. I think, especially with somebody of her clout and her experience, that's what players respond to. Is they respond to people that have been around the game for a long time or have played the game. They really respect and respond to that. So it's fantastic by the organization. Job well done. I've said this numerous years. I've said this a couple of years ago that she at some point will be a head coach in the NBA. It's just a matter of when.
Absolutely agree. And I think it'll be sooner rather than later at this point. Honestly, like you said, 13 years she spent with the Spurs organization, all the different things she's done. She was a professional player herself, and the players see that. These franchises are going to see that. And I think that Becky Hammon will end up becoming the first NBA female head coach. So it's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing to see when that happens. But hey, you got to take steps to get there. And this was step number one. In our last Give or Go, and it's something we had kind of briefly touched on before, Texas Longhorns have fired Tom Herman. That's right. After going 7-3, getting Texas ranked and winning a bowl game and having a winning record over 4 years, Tom Herman is gone and will be replaced already by Alabama Crimson Tide offensive coordinator Steve Sarkisian, which, if you remember, was the former head coach also of USC, and we remember the issues that he had there, and before that at Washington. So this is crazy. Craig, give or go.
Pop the bubbly for Steve Sarkisian. Oh wait, is that too soon?
Oh, too soon.
Oh, too soon. But really, this is really more of an indictment of Texas. I mean, yes, Tom Herman did have a winning record, but he had 7 losses to teams that were unranked while Texas was ranked in his. That's what really Texas is looking for. Mm-hmm. Like I said, Texas, and in my personal opinion, and this is just me, that I'm taking as much bias out of this as possible. Texas is in the same echelon, same boat as Michigan and USC. Your expectations are up here. Mm-hmm. Your realism is down here. Okay. Mm-hmm. Texas is not the Texas that we're used to. Yep. Michigan and USC are not the programs that they used to be, but Texas is still acting like they are. They still spend the most money. They have one of the biggest budgets in college football.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
And they can't even win the Big 10, or I'm sorry, the Big 12.
Well, they couldn't win the Big 10 either.
Right. Yeah. They couldn't win the Big 10 either. But this is more of like, you're only giving a guy 4 years. Like Tom Herman just now is getting his guys in this program, and you're not giving him a chance to do anything with it. He's got a winning record. He's won. He's been ranked multiple times. He's won bowl games. He's won every bowl game he's been in, and 4 straight bowl games. And he's beaten Oklahoma. The only thing that they're looking at is that they're not in the college football playoff. And that's why you see people get fired so quickly at the USCs, the Michigans, the Texases, because they can't get to the playoff. And it's championship or bust.
Yeah.
And that's all it is to Texas. So I think because of that, Texas is going to take another step back. Sarkisian's only going to last a couple of years, and he's going to have some other thing come up, and he's not going to be there anymore.
Yep, and he's going to be outed. So I agree. I think it's a dumb move by Texas. You should give Tom Herman more time to be able to actually make something happen. You got to think, his guys just became seniors this year. Let the guy start getting his culture fully implemented. Now he's starting to get everything put together. Let him do it, man. For Christ's sake, so ridiculous.
Yeah. With this, the Longhorns are still going to owe Tom Herman $15 million to buy out the final 3 years of his contract. Longhorns will also owe another $10 million to buy out the contracts of his assistants, which are guaranteed multi-year deals. So they're really cleaning house, and they don't care how much money they got to spend. Sarkisian's going to be coming in. Sarkisian is 46. You mentioned he did have a few of those stints at USC and Washington, but Sarkisian is going to finish out the year at Alabama, which is really telling for where his mindset's at, because if you are a head coach of a big program like Texas, he needs to be there now to start getting his team in place, get ready for that open window of recruiting that's going to be happening very soon. But he doesn't care. He's going to be staying at Alabama to try to win another national championship.
Well, a lot can happen in 8 days, so we'll see what happens. I think he definitely wants that ring. I would. I know if I was in that position, give me that ring. But, I mean, we'll see what happens. But it's going to be interesting. Yeah. But that is the end of our give or go, which brings us on.
One final thing.
Oh, man, he has one final thing.
For Texas, one big thing is going to be, is Sam Ehlinger coming back? He still is eligible for one more year.
That is true.
But if he decides not to come back, Sarkisian and company are going to be at a real uphill battle. So they're really the first thing you got to do from Texas is you got to get there ASAP to try to figure out what you're going to do and map out your recruiting. But you have to convince Sam Ehlinger to come back. You have to convince him to come back. If you can't do that, you're already in an uphill battle.
Yeah, absolutely agree. So it's definitely going to be interesting. We'll see how that one works out. But you can also see how things work out if you were to join Podcast City Network, because if you have a new or emerging podcast, we want you, because we're trying to grow a great group of podcasts here based upon a whole entire community aspect, because we offer an array of membership services, including logo design and branding, social media advertising, live podcast hosting, and so much more. You also gain access to the whole entire network of shows to help with cross-promotion, guests, and overall reach, while also becoming part of our ever-expanding PCN community based on people helping people. And we're up to 18 shows right now with more to come. The best part is that there's no
19.
membership fee. Yeah, we're at 19 now. So what are you waiting for? Go to podcastcity.net/join now and join the fastest growing independent podcast network around, Podcast City Network. But, you know, if we're talking about that, that means it's time for a little bit of madness. It's time for a little bit of meme madness. And there's some great ones lined up for today. And I even added one last minute. Yes, Jimmy, I did see your comment. I squeezed it in here because it was too good not to. But our first meme up was one that also came from Jimmy about me and my stance when it comes to the quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'm not going to lie, this is actually now has more weight now that we have the recent news of Wentz pursuing a trade. But we know where my heart lies now.
It's so funny how hard you flipped on him in just 2 weeks, man.
I tried.
You were ready to die on the hill for Carson Wentz over the last year. If you're watching this, the few people that are still watching, like, I kid you not, like, this man would go to battle and take a bullet for Carson Wentz, and in 2 weeks he flips.
You know why? It's because
good Lord, you're John Kerry, you flip flopper.
No, it's because Wentz gave up on the Eagles. He gave up on us first, so I gave up on him in turn. You know, gotta keep it fair. But you know, there's one thing, and I don't like to be absolute, because obviously in this I had to go with Jalen Hurts. Wentz doesn't like us anymore. But you know who does deal in absolutes, and that's the Sith. And people say that Final Score is the absolute best. I mean, that is an absolute, so I guess we're all Siths, right? I don't know. I like this just because I've never seen Obi-Wan with a red lightsaber, or, like, you know, all sifted out. So it actually looked pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Oh man. But you know, this next one we actually shared on our social media, and I got such a kick out of it because it's such a Jets way of approaching things, and you have to ask yourself, what are the Jets doing? Oh, it's too good.
The Jets don't know what the Jets are doing. They're hitting themselves over the head for no reason.
Oh my goodness, it's too good. It's absolutely too good. But got to keep it rolling forward. This next one that we have, also in the beautiful ire of the Jets and the crap team perfection. Sorry, Jets, you just got tracked down by the Jags for your crap team perfection. Now the Jags have the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. Oh man, it's too good.
Before you move on, real quick, I love it. Kevin Wathen, who's helped us out with some rugby coverage in the past, jumps in. I'm only going to address the first one because the other 3 are just comical. It's really funny, and he's taking shots at you. The first one, Urban Meyer, head coach of the Jags. That's been a very big possibility. We haven't really discussed it too much on the show because there's not a whole lot of substance there yet. But I would imagine that's going to be a topic coming up in the next couple weeks. I think it's a terrible move because I don't think Urban Meyer has the his coaching style doesn't translate to the NFL. I don't think it's going to work out very well. And I think it'd be a terrible move for the Jags to go in that direction when you have so many other NFL caliber coaches that are out there. I don't think it's good to gamble on a college coach like that has no NFL experience.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a terrible move. Ryan Day has also got his name out there from Ohio State.
Actually, Ryan Day, it just came across a little bit ago. Ryan Day has pulled his name from any kind of consideration for an NFL job. So he's happy where he's at.
That's a smart man because he's a young head coach at a premier program in the Big Ten. And if you can win a championship there, he's literally set for the next 10 years. Like if you can win multiple championships there, you're set for life. So he's smart to pull his name out of the running there. But I think Urban Meyer to the Jags or any NFL team would be an absolute disaster. This man rules as a tyrant, and that does not work in the NFL.
Yeah, it definitely does not. And you're not going to be able to take that kind of approach and pull the kind of stuff that he did in the NFL.
It's okay. If he struggles, he'll fake a heart attack and go back to college.
Oh my gosh. You're so horrible.
I went there.
Oh my goodness. Well, with our next one, this is one we're going to go there with George. I hope George is watching right now. Good old George DeMoya of Not a Hockey Market Podcast and 90 Miles Media. I know you're probably still feeling pretty sore, bud, because your wife, I know, is starting around hardcore after becoming the 3-time fantasy football champion. Oh, I couldn't help it. I had to put this one up. I feel so bad for him, though. I feel so bad for him. Oh, it's too good. But the next one I have ready for us is actually going to be a very, very interesting one because this is us kind of trying to peer in the future a little bit, if you will, because we do have the NFL draft's going to be coming up here not too much longer. And there's going to be some hard decisions that are going to have to be made. And I think we all know who I'm talking about. And that's going to be for the Jacksonville Jaguars because now the Jags are going to have to figure out which guy looks better in a Jags uniform, Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields. Man, that's so crazy to see both of them side by side. But only one of these guys is going to end up with the Jags. So
if they pick Justin Fields, I will laugh so hard because it'll be a terrible decision.
Yeah, I think it would be too. I think, just because you blow out Clemson doesn't mean you're going to get that kind of play week in and week out, as has been proven by Justin Fields in the Big Ten title game against Indiana. Need we go on. So, I think it'd be a bad idea, but we'll see what happens. But for our next meme, though, we do have a good one here because 2020 was a hard year for all of us. We all had to try and find a way. And, if you're with us for Final Score, you're just a fucking legend. Oh, man. Too good. Yeah, it's been a crazy year, but, we've been able to grow through all of it, and we've been very thankful for all of you sticking with Final Score through it all. But these last two I have were very, very late additions that I literally made last minute. I think one made it on the outline. The other one did not. But the first one's going to be something we talked about earlier with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or was it the Tampa Bay Bradyneers? Or was it the Tampa Bay Bradyneers? I can't remember. Either way, though, depends on where your brain's at. Oh, it's too good. It's too good. Look at that. Meme magic in minutes. Oh, my goodness. Such good stuff. But we do have one more. And this one isn't really a meme. This is just a picture that was sent to us by George DeMoya, who's literally watching us on TV right now. We thank you so much for watching us, bud, and all the great stuff that you bring to the network, and of course your show
on the big screen. I love it
on the big screen. Yeah, that's right. You can actually see us on TV, but you got to kind of have a smart TV. You probably have to go to Facebook or something, stuff like that. So, but we thank you for so much. Watching us on your big screen TV makes me want to start casting onto my TV, see what happens. But thank you guys so much. A lot of great memes, and if you guys have a meme out there that you want to see featured on the show or that you think's funny as hell, send it to us. Post it on our page at PCN Final Score. Email it to us, pcnfinalscore@gmail.com. and send it to us. And it might actually get featured on the show. We love memes. We are all about them memes. All about them memes. About them memes. Hey, all memes. So definitely, if you have one, send it to us, and you just might end up on here. But something else that I know we're on and that we enjoy regularly is PodChaser. What can you tell us about PodChaser, Craig?
Well, PodChaser is your daily source for podcast discovery. Apple Podcasts is no longer the only credible place that you can rate and review podcasts. On PodChaser, you can follow individual creators, browse every podcast ever, and you can rate and review episodes. We're also on PodChaser. Just go to podchaser.com, search keyword final score, one word. Give us a follow, a rating, and review.
Absolutely. A lot of great stuff going on over there with PodChaser. We're able to meet those guys back at PodFest. Real great time, real smart guys, and really enjoy everything they bring to the table and do for us. So, yeah, definitely check us out on PodChaser. Leave that rating, leave that review, and follow all the great things that we're doing. But that does mean that it's now time for the week ahead, and it's going to be interesting because we do have not this Monday, but next Monday will be the national championship. But NFL playoffs will take place starting next weekend on Saturday, January 9th and 10th. And it'll be the first wild card round of the playoffs. It's going to be really, really interesting now that we have the added aspect of a 7th wild card spot. So it's going to be interesting, man, and just so close to us. Almost here. I could taste it.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun seeing how the new playoff format's going to work out, how big that home field advantage for the number one seed is really going to come into play. Really, really interesting spot there. And of course, next week we have episode 89 of Final Score. Next Sunday at 10 a.m. This will kind of be this episode will kind of be the last one for me for a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I have surgery coming up tomorrow. I have throat surgery coming up. So please keep me in your thoughts and your prayers. And hopefully we will have a quick recovery. We'll be back in a couple weeks for sure.
Yes, absolutely. And we definitely wish you luck with your surgery tomorrow. Next week, I have not chosen a fill-in yet. I have a lot of ideas on the table, and I might get wild with it. We'll see what happens. But definitely expect an announcement to be coming later this week. But until then, this has been Final Score. Any last words, Craig?
No, just again, Happy New Year, everybody. 2021 is going to be off to a fantastic start already. We've got a lot of exciting things that we're looking forward to with the show and with the network. So just be sure to stay tuned and keep liking, sharing, and commenting. And we really appreciate all the support. Thank you to everyone that stuck around.
That's right, at PCN Final Score, and thank you guys so much. We wouldn't have been able to get to this point without you guys, but we're going to rely on you guys. We're going to push it harder because we're going to try and I shoot for the moon. I shoot high. What can I say? But at the end of the day, that has been our episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. But until next week, I'm Chris, and that's Craig, and you guys have just watched Final Score. All of y'all have a great night.
Podcast City Network.